All set? Okay. Welcome and good evening. It's the Milford Board of Selectmen meeting, the regular scheduled meeting for June 1st, 2015. First item that we have is the signing of the warrant. Is there a motion?
There is.
Motion made. I will second it. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. We have meeting minutes of May 11th, 2015. I'll need a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That too is unanimous. Before we proceed along with the meeting, I'd like to recognize two very special guests, both representing Boy Scouts Troop 4. And I apologize if I don't pronounce your name correctly, but I have Joshua Aarons and Emmanuel Zimmerman, correct? Good, okay, well, welcome here, boys, and hopefully you'll learn something. This isn't House of Cards, but we'll try to be as exciting as we can, okay? All right. Invitation to speak. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to address the board on an item not scheduled? Okay, not seeing anything. Let's move to the first item on the agenda, and it is a public hearing from Mass Electric and Verizon. Is this yours? Okay, why don't you come on up? Okay, we have a notice of public hearing received from Massachusetts Electric Company and Verizon New England, Inc. It's a request to locate a certain pole to accommodate a new driveway to house number 21 Main Street. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us more about it?
My name is Michael Parent. I work for National Grid out of Hopedale, Massachusetts office. Basically, the pole as it exists right now, it's on the edge of a small driveway that's there, but it looks like they're widening the driveway and they need to move the pole over so they have access to the property there for a commercial building. So we propose moving it about 20 feet west of where it is now.
Is this a residential property?
No, commercial property.
Commercial property, okay. Is it being built right now? Is this
I'm not sure
the
about
one that's
that.
being built?
I'm not, it's not my specific job, but I did speak to someone today, and I'm not sure the timetable on when it's being built.
Okay, because when they saw the 21 Main Street, that's the old Marcone address.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. Will, any questions?
No, that was my only question.
Okay, this being a public hearing, is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or comments regarding this petition? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board? Motion to approve?
Yep. I'll make a motion.
Motion made to approve, seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. And go back, tell them you did a good job. All right.
Thanks.
Okay, the next thing that we have is an application for alteration of premises for the Milford Mandarin Restaurant. And as everyone's getting situated, I will tell you what I have before me. The department head review form indicates that the building commissioner has said that this is an allowable use. The occupancy load is 237. The building and restrooms are accessible. The town planner has indicated there is no change of actual use. The tax collector and town treasurer have no outstanding issues, nor do the fire department or police chief. The Board of Health, however, has indicated that there no application for alterations have been submitted to the Board of Health. We also have a petition for a change of license, the licensee being the Milford Mandarin Restaurant, Inc., and indicated on the petition, the only reason is the alteration of premises. So, the description of the alteration: add 1,600 square feet resulting from a vacancy next door and rearrange the dining rooms, lounge, and sushi bar. There's indication of a plan. And with that, we'll turn it over to Attorney Resnick.
Mr. Chairman.
Nice to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to have you
Nice
back
to
in
see
front of
you.
us.
It's been a while, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Kincaid, my name is Doug Resnick. I've represented the Milford Mandarin since they first opened in 1989.
Wow.
the time flies.
Absolutely.
We've actually been through our first 20-year lease. We signed a new one in 2009. This is with the extensions, actually could amount to 25 years. The space next door to the Mandarin became vacant a little while ago. So we negotiated with our landlord to take over that space. Therefore, what we're doing is adding the 1,600 square feet that comprises that space, and then we're gonna mix things up a little bit as shown on the plan. One of the reasons we wouldn't purport to do any alterations, because of course, even our lease amendment is contingent on blessing of the board for the alteration of premises, and then, of course, ABCC's approval as well. So we'll take care of that aspect once we're clear. We're hoping to be open in the new space by October 1st. As we said, the same architect that had done some minor decorative renovations a few years ago, Peter Darlow, has done this floor plan too, and we think it's really safe and attractive and so forth.
Great.
I don't know if there's anything else you want to hear. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Annie Yam and Kenny Fu, who are, Annie's the liquor license manager and Kenny's the general manager.
Oh, nice to see you. Yeah. Good.
Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's great. Do you have any questions, comments?
No, good luck.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to seeing it.
Thank you. Thanks. We can't wait.
Doug, are they gonna be able to stay open in the meantime while the
Yeah,
build-out
yes, actually.
occurs? Okay.
Except for probably 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we can keep the current restaurant functioning.
Great.
Probably during the time where we do the transition of the bar to the new space and that sort of thing. But that's only expected to take a couple weeks.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Well, wish you the best. It's been a great restaurant, wonderful corporate citizen for the town of Milford. You do a nice job, and, just wish you all the best.
Well, thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Very nice to see you all. Thank you very
Wait a
much.
minute, we gotta do the motion, you don't wanna.
Yeah, you want us to vote?
That's right.
Gotta,
It's been a long time.
take care of business here.
Practice.
I guess so, yeah. All right, so is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. You're okay now.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Jean, Rick, thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Good seeing you.
I'm sure the ABCC will move on it pretty quickly, and you'll be good to go. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That concludes the scheduled appointments. The next item that we have is the town administrator's report. Rick?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say, we received word on May 20th that Senator Fatman and Representative Fernandez secured $250,000 from the environmental bond bill for the Godfrey Brook project. Their effort and hard work in securing these funds is most appreciated. An update on the boiler room project here at Town Hall. The renovations and upgrades have been completed. The boiler is now functioning properly and will now result in a healthier workspace for town employees and the public. The improved efficiency of the unit will also result in energy cost savings for the town. I have an update on Milford Pond. The contractor, Palmer Federal, began working on the Milford Pond Aquatic Habitat Restoration Project. They have constructed the perimeter of the replication area and the islands with the coir logs first. These logs are designed for stabilization and erosion control. Dredging has begun in April, and they are monitoring the water quality as they proceed. I did want to alert the board that the Personnel Board is requesting this board designate a delegate to attend selected Personnel Board meetings to discuss refinement of their salary compensation plan. So they're waiting a decision from this board on that. And finally, regarding technology and our IT director, our IT director, Paul Blivis, resigned on May 27, 2015. At this time, our consultant, Worldband, is directing our IT personnel through our ticket system for all town buildings, so there will be no interruption, obviously, as to the ticket system and repairs as needed. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman and Mr.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments on the Godfrey Brook grant. just extend our thanks and appreciation to the good work of Representative Fernandez and Senator Fatman. And then also just make sure that the Finance Committee is formally notified, just so they're aware of that. And obviously, that reduces the amount of town expenditure that we have to do on this project. In terms of the Personnel Board memo, I see that they're looking for a representative to try to keep this board in the loop, and I know that they've requested the finance director, but that's not something that I really think is feasible, nor is it practical, when in reality that's one of the positions that they would be reviewing. So what I would do is when Selectman Buckley returns, I would give him the option, due to seniority, to serve as the representative to the board. And then if he declines, then I would be appointing Selectman Kincaid to that position. And in terms of Mr. Blivis, we would accept his resignation with regret. I think he did a nice job while he was here, but, you know, it's probably a good opportunity to really take stock of the technology model that we have in town. And I know we've talked about this before, and I don't want to go too far into it because I know Bill's been very involved with it, and he certainly needs to participate in that discussion. But, you know, to me, I think it's a real opportunity to revisit the model that we use and to take a much closer look as to whether or not it's viable. And I don't know why we don't want to examine more closely a more town-oriented model, and, you know, similar to, you know, the highway department or even town council working for the municipality. Any work that gets done to the school department can get, you know, attached as an indirect cost on their budget. But speaking of that, at least from my own point of view, and I'm going to turn it over to Will for a sec, I think we really need to hear something formally from the school committee and the superintendent in terms of where they are with technology and what their plan is going forward. You know, I see snippets in the newspaper or hear things on the radio. You know, there's been conversations, I think, that all of us have had. But, you know, we really need, if in fact this model is going to marry central government and the school department at the hip, then, you know, we really need to get a sense as to where they're at with things. So that's kind of what I'd be looking at. Will, let me turn it over to you for any comments
No.
you have on any of the items Rick talked about.
No, thank you, Brian. No, the only thing that I wanted to talk about, too, when it comes to IT and looking forward is, again, it's pretty much in sync with what you just mentioned. I'm happy to hear that. I think 3 directors in 4 years is a problem. I think on the surface, whether it was the town hall folks coming to the FinCom while I sat on that board for a couple of years, in the school side, on the surface, it seemed like everyone was supportive of this central team, so to speak, and all the feedback that I'm getting from behind the scenes and everyone else is that that's not what exactly has been taking place. And Rick, I don't want to necessarily address this to you now unless you want to deal with that, but I feel like you are almost fighting an uphill battle as well. I think that when we're dividing the town hall and the school system, and the school system is telling their guy, even though he's supposed to be a central town employee, regardless of who pays his check, kind of giving him his work to do, absent of the IT director. I think you're setting up the IT director for possible failure. And then you have a couple of folks on the town hall side that get it sent into the schools when need be, but are also kept on the fringe when it comes to schools. So I think, generally speaking, people feel, especially people in this building, feel that IT has gone in a good direction. Is that an accurate statement?
I believe for the most part it is, sir, yeah.
As for the school side, I mean, I happen to know, just doing some research from, and again, being off the school board as long as I have been, that things are still running on unsupported programs. Data closets aren't locked. If you're gonna have data closets within closets where you're storing gym equipment, they should be locked on a case in the wall. I mean, a lot of this is the simple stuff that I was hoping over the last 4 years that would have been dealt with. Because we talk about security and we talk about external security breaches, but how people get in is through internal stuff. We don't even have VPNs, which a lot of people know those are virtual private networks. For me to dial in technically into my desktop, I have to do it through a VPN. It's private, it's secured. Here, if anyone outside of the school system or former employees with a grudge or wanted to do something simple but disheartening to us, all they need is a username and a password. I mean, that's it, then you're in. So I mean, even the simple stuff that I understand, that I deal with on a daily basis, hasn't been accomplished. I know some of these plans and that are gonna cost, $1 million to redo the entire school system on the back end. I understand that takes time and planning. That still might be a couple years away. But there's other things that should have been done over the last 3 months, 3 weeks, 6 months, and especially over 4 years. I mean, I don't think people know this, and that's why I wanted to just say it on TV, because maybe things will react a little differently. There are 3 different domains on the back end of the Milford, on the town of Milford. Our domain, is it still owned by a former IT director? A lot of people don't know that the domain of milfordma.com isn't even owned by the town of Milford. So I would ask that you and Jerry get on that, because that is a way that you guys can do that. There's a process for towns and municipalities and state government when other people do that. So I don't think we should be looking for former employees, long gone, to make changes or to make sure that their credit card information is up to date so our domain stays active. However we move to whether external, I at least on the surface, am very happy what Mr. Chairman said about why we wouldn't want to have a centralized in town. The model has worked in Milford in other departments. This isn't NASA. We're not sending someone to the moon. We're trying to just come into this century, and that shouldn't be as difficult as it's been. And again, I don't want to look in the rearview mirror and talk about an individual, because to be honest with you, I didn't interact with them and I don't know him and I wish him well. But going forward, how are we going to not make the same mistakes that we've made repeatedly? Like, I actually find this to be one of the most frustrating things going on right now. Not the most frustrating thing in the town of Milford, but one of them. So what I would like is, and what I think we should have, is a complete audit of everyone who has a username and an email account in the town of Milford. And that should be cross-referenced to make sure that they are all current employees. Because unless that was fixed very recently, we're going to have a couple surprises. I also think that we need a complete audit of all the data closets, whether they're in the schools or the town hall, because quite honestly, we're going to be held responsible for them. And if the school department has a problem with that audit, then maybe we should go see them. Because, enough's enough. The simple stuff should be accomplished. I know that the town employees didn't even have keys to access the closets when they were locked. So is there an on-call schedule? When things go south, sometimes they go south and go offline at night. So how was one of our town guys, because I have to keep differentiating them when I didn't think we were doing that anymore, were they going to get in? Or were we going to have to wait to see if the facilities director was going to let someone into the schools? So if that's going to a card access system, so we can track who's coming in rather than handing out keys, then, you know what, add a key audit to the list. Because who's got keys to all these closets? Because some of our IT folks don't. And again, I'm trying hard to respect what you said about waiting for Selectman Buckley to come back, because I think he obviously should be part of this conversation. You and him have been trying to set this right for some time, but I think there's a lot of stuff that's been going on the back end. And if we have to have a meeting with the school committee or with Bob or however else, I'll definitely be present, because I think we finally have to have a discussion where everyone's looking at each other in the face. Because I'm under the assumption that they'd rather have their own IT department. And if that's the case, that's not what has been said over the last few years. As far as I understand, that budget line, 155, it does exist now,
Yes, it does.
as of July 1 anyway, or is it right now?
It's in existence now.
So we have that whole department pretty much funded, with the exception of the licensure for the schools that you talked about.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess this is where I'm just confused, because you seem to have everything lined up the way it's supposed to be. And yet, we're still having the same problem with the third director that we had with the first director, and then the second one in the middle. It's why it doesn't matter who's been sitting in that position. I also think that the Board of Selectmen, even more than what I've already said, should take control of the situation. And if we have to, or if one of us has to sit there and, during the hiring, at least be held, because we're gonna be held responsible anyway, we might as well own it. That's one person's opinion anyway. I think if we have to separate ourselves from the personnel board and go into a contract with someone so that we can actually advertise a realistic salary for the amount of employees, students. I mean, we're talking over 5,000 when you talk about students in the school system and in the town, that is gonna end up getting to a point where you're bringing your own devices into school. So I think we have an awful lot to do, but I don't think it can just be, and even when I was on the FinCom, it seemed like you guys were so invested in doing everything into this process, and I think there's just been a level of, whether it's a miscommunication or, quite honestly, some people just feeling differently as soon as they walk out of the room, and you know what, that's not fair to any of us, and it's certainly not fair to the people that are in these positions. And I guess my only other question on a more human note is, do at least our town hall guys know what's going on?
Absolutely, everybody.
Because you spoke very highly of them to me. They seem to be hustling and working and doing everything they're asked to do.
Ticket system is functioning very well,
Okay,
both
I
in the
just-
schools and here.
okay. And I understand that obviously World Band is back to some, so you at least got them right back on.
They never really left, but we're gonna get them on in a little more
Okay.
detailed manner.
All right, so there is, I mean, things are, as you said, they are moving. Tickets are getting
Absolutely,
entered and answered and addressed.
yes.
Okay. All right, I just think that what I'd like you to keep an eye out for is, because it's always subtle things that happen if they're going into a direction where we're gonna go back to having two separate entities, which I hope at this point that isn't the case. One, I don't think you reward people for bad behavior, quite honestly, and two, the centralized model, we can't even say it hasn't worked since we haven't actually tried it, or got to the point where we can actually see it and someone be supported and know that they have everyone behind them. And we can't control everyone. But I think little things like all of the invoices and the bills that are going to the school system, if all of a sudden the contact changes from the IT director's office or your office, whatever it is, back to the school system, then you know the move's being made. So I hope that you'll just look into that. I hope that's not the case, but that's often what takes place.
Okay.
I have about 450 other things I'd like to talk about when it comes to IT, but I think I'm gonna try to be respectful to the fact that we wanna wait for a full board and see where we
Yeah.
wanna go.
Yeah, and I think at this point, I think we need to probably look at this problem at a broad brush initially. So, I think it's really time to examine the model that we do have and really work hard to come up with something that works much better. And then a lot of these detail items that you're addressing, I think will flow naturally.
I hope so.
It just seems to me that the problems that the school department has seem to be overwhelming in terms of even cataloging the equipment that they have. And that doesn't happen overnight. At some point, there was a degree of neglect in terms of the school department, and now they're playing some serious catch-up. So that's why I'd like to get something in writing on behalf of the school department as to, where they're at and what their plan and goals are going forward. And then we can obviously address this, more at subsequent, at future meetings. But at this point, I think, that's kind of where we're at on this thing. And we do have to be mindful that, the school committee does have jurisdiction over their department. So that's their,
Well, I think that's why we have to, I keep bringing up the fact that we honestly have to have a conversation, because if that's the case, then we gotta figure it out. Because there's no sense in us thinking we're going in one direction and then them going in the other. We gotta just be open and honest with one another if that's the case.
yeah. So let's take it, at this point right now, and we can obviously discuss it more at our next meeting when Bill's here. Anything else, Will, under
No,
Town
thank you.
administrator's reports? Okay, under old business, the town administrator gave us a memo in terms of the neighborhood task force, which includes a history of the task force, the violation process, and going forward with the task force, and then listed some open complaints with action reports. Rick, do you want to just give us a summary of this?
Yeah, just a very brief summary.
Yeah.
As far as the background, I think both of you gentlemen are well aware of both the establishment of the task force and obviously the adoption of Article 31, the nuisance bylaw. Again, I think both of you are very familiar with the violation process. Going forward, basically, we're going to get back to the roots, as it indicates in the memo, to walk the neighborhood streets. I did take the opportunity to go on the initial walk, just for myself, to see how the process works, to see who was involved, what they were looking for. I do want to stress that obviously, if residents have notice of what they feel might be potential violations, they're sometimes the best eyes and ears of a particular neighborhood. We will set up the website. The website will have a feature to set up basically drop-down box where they will be able to try to categorize the type of violation to kind of make it easier for our people to react to it, number one, and it might also allow us to keep a better history of the number of violations and the types of violations. Just so the board knows, obviously priority is life safety, illegal dwellings, and then illegal use. We will provide monthly reports to the board so that the board can see where the task force walked, what violations were found, and also we will keep a status so the board can see that a case is either open, closed. Sometimes, unfortunately, in that rare case when you're before the district court, you're waiting for a hearing, so it does take time. So obviously, hopefully this is what the board is looking for. Again, you will get monthly reports. At opportune times, if it's need be, we will have the building commissioner come in or the Board of Health agent because they're involved in the walk. We had a policeman with us. We had a fire person from the fire department with us. So it is a rather detailed task force. So if the board has questions or they feel they need updates, please obviously reach out to me, and I will get the answers that you need. I hope to have the website up and running, obviously, in the next fiscal year, starting then.
Good. Will, any questions, comments?
Yeah, I'll comment. I mean, I think this was great. It certainly, even though I knew about the task force, it was nice to even get the history.
I think it's nice
Of
to,
it.
yeah, okay.
My only question is, just because they're all obviously town employees that are working with you, obviously, and taking away from their regular work hours when they're doing task force, is the task force always during like business hours? Or is it ever after hours or at night even? And I don't mean 11 o'clock at night, obviously.
For the most part, it is during business hours.
Okay. Has the discussion ever been even brought up of doing it possibly, later on?
I can speak with John to see on the history of that, and I will look into that, yeah.
Yeah, just curious, because, people are at work, people are doing things. I was just wondering if that at 6 or 7 o'clock at night, would you see things differently? Or maybe that wouldn't be the case. And I'm not talking about like the first one, and I'm not going to say the address, but this is, I think, often a case where people are saying that the house isn't up to code or things like that. And when people have different levels of maintaining their own property. So if there's no violations or anything, but you kind of hear some crazy stuff, and I'm at the point where I'm not sure if it's just off the wall or if there is after-hours activity with people moving and mattresses coming in and mattresses going out and things like that. Because generally, people do know that we're in business from, 8 to 5.
Right.
Well, I mean, if you have any information about a targeted address, get that to him.
Oh, I
or the-
definitely
or the
will.
building
And I
inspector.
returned a call just to ask, because at first,
Yeah.
on first hand, I was like, again,
And
So-
they have made targeted times in the past when it has been identified or raised about an after-hours thing.
And when
Okay.
when they're going to the interior of a building, obviously, we have to make sure someone is there.
Oh, absolutely.
The multifamily dwellings where
Yeah.
there is periodic inspection.
well, that's why I asked. I didn't even know if that's logistically possible. So that's why I wanted to.
It's happened in the past, but usually it's on a targeted property.
Right.
They think, I think what you
But most
think
of these are
is-
targeted anyway, aren't they? Or, I mean, someone must, or Lori's out. and-
Well, sometimes it's just walking a neighborhood, and then in this case, a lot of it was walking the neighborhood, and they would point out the
great, okay.
violations, they would have notebooks and computer with them and list the violations, and then they would discuss as we were walking, how they're gonna follow up.
No, I returned a call, so if I get an address, then I'll pass it
Yeah,
along
and
to
then
you,
hopefully
and
the
we'll go from there.
website will help us with that.
Okay.
Hopefully also, but we would welcome, obviously, if you do have,
Oh, yeah, I certainly wouldn't be shy, I just didn't have the information to tell you, so.
okay.
Okay, thank you. The next item that we have is the contract for the Godfrey Brook project. It is for $2,272,099.56. We simply need a vote to approve it, and the town administrator is authorized to sign.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Do you have any old business, Will?
Well, I think it is old business, but it actually has to just follow up with the Godfrey Brook type of stuff. A couple of other things I have to talk about have to do with the Prospect Heights area. I was asked to go up there and take a walk, which geographically, I imagine it's, at some point, goes to Hospital Brook, but I know the brook goes under, or culverts go underneath the park, and then they go, they end up behind the pool and close to the hospital. There's 3 or 4, and I'll share them with you because I just got them emailed to me on the way back. And then while I was up there, there were 3 sinkholes that are going through Wally Costa's property, and he kind of tapes them off, fills them with stone, puts a cone up. And I'm not sure what formal dialogue has happened with between him and the highway department. I mean, he knows all those guys, so I imagine Scott and stuff, but however it's happening, I just didn't know, is that part at all on the plan to get addressed? Not yet, right?
Not for this project.
Not for this project.
This is Congress,
Right, no, yeah, the one we just awarded is Congress Terrace.
down the road.
Now, when we
And
get,
Main Street.
and Main Street,
Main Street,
so
correct.
this middle section, so to speak, okay.
Is that in fact Godfrey Brook? Do we know?
That's what I've been told when the project was done, that I think Dominic Afonso redid everything underneath the park, but this is past that, going behind the pool. So I just wanted to let you know, let's see if you can have
I can
either
look into
Scott or
that,
somebody to go look into it. I'm sure they're all aware of it, because it keeps getting temporarily filled in.
Well, the
But-
report that was done back in '06 or '07 itemized all the areas of concern.
Okay,
And basically what's been happening since that time, the highway department and the town has tried to chip away at the most problem areas.
Yep.
But do the work in conformance with the recommendation for the entire brook.
okay,
And that was what we were looking for with the environmental bond bill of the $4 million plus back in '07.
yep.
So
that
since
makes
that.
perfect sense.
So since that time, the highway department has tried to do the repair measures in accordance with what was recommended. Now, that particular area, I'm not sure where that is on the highway department's list or whatever, but we would have to bring that to their attention. And if it's something that's immediate, then yes, they would go there, and if they don't have the money, there'd be a town meeting article,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I just saw it, so I think I just wanted to pass
Do you have
that
the
on.
property address? or-
I can get it, and
You
I
get
have
me
to,
that?
yeah.
Yeah,
good.
why don't you get the property address and get it off to Rick, and you can get that down to.
Yeah, and I'll
the
follow up
highway
and get back to the
surveyor.
board.
He'll know, it all ends up behind the pool, where it
Yeah,
just
no,
opens up and
I
flows
know
out.
the area you're talking about.
And then
yeah.
there's some, I mean, during heavy rain, it's obviously just like everything else, more of an issue, but it's just in those spots, like all through the park, the ground is perfect.
Yeah.
And under the roads, it's just when it gets
Yeah.
to this part of where the lawn
entire
is.
thing has been a problem, you
Yeah.
know.
Okay, sure.
Any other items?
Well, while I'm talking about well, no, that's not old business. No, I'm good. I guess, what if something's new to me but old to possibly this board?
Bring it
How do you-
up.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll tell you if it's new, old, or
Well-
contemporary.
No, I have, it goes back to '07, and I wasn't aware of it, but it's about and I know you guys addressed this, or addressed it as far as it could go, about the truck traffic on Depot Street and Beach Street. And The only reason I found this out was asking a few questions, because last week I got a couple of calls from a few folks on Depot Street, and I never heard this expression before, and you guys might know it. I never knew what a Jake brake was, so I did my research, and obviously, it's mostly the trucks coming out of, I guess, the bottling plant, which at the end of the road there has a sign that says preferred truck route to the left. It says preferred. So obviously a lot of trucks. So I took a nap, I woke up, went down there and sat on Depot Street for a while. And here they come. And you know, when the Jake brake goes off, it'll wake up the whole neighborhood. Now, I'm not sure, because some of the transportation folks I work with say, what's the street like? Why are they using that? Why, you know, they shouldn't even be going fast enough at that point and stuff like that. And I said, well, I'm, again, certainly no expert, but I think this is something that we need to revisit. And the tractor trailers on Beach Street is completely crazy. And it's after hours. And I know, based on a lot of the correspondence that was forwarded to me, you know, people were being told it was the Mass DOT, it was the EPA, it was this, it was that. And everything that kind of came back said, well, there are no numbered routes, they're local roads, and it falls under the direction of the Board of Selectmen. So, and then I verified that with DOT, and they said, yeah, what roads are these? So, doesn't mean it's easy, because I'm not sure where you necessarily send them, but.
You need to get a complete package on this, because this has been evaluated a number of times by the town engineer and the police chief.
Okay.
So,
So I should just-
there was no state involvement at all. I mean, I have it at the office, and, you know, I'm sure you may have it, or if not, but we have a number of memos from the town engineer indicating, you know, steps that were taken to alleviate traffic on Beach Street, but also the problems that you have in doing that in terms of if you exclude them from Beach Street, then what street?
Right. And that was the
So-
question that kind of obviously
That's-
came up.
That's what you have, and if you move them from one street, you're just moving a problem to another.
Yeah.
But we've had a number of memos with the, what is it called now? Used to be Foster Forbes, but I don't even know.
Well, that's why I said bottling plant, because I'm not
Bottling
even sure
I
what
don't
the
even know
name
what
is
the
now.
name is. It's changed about 100 times. But in any event, the chief and the town engineer have talked to them about the traffic. But that's just a brief snapshot. That's not the complete picture of
Okay.
what was done.
Oh, I'm sure it
So
was.
you need to get up to speed as to where it's been, and then if it's something that you want to address, we can do that.
Okay.
But we've got to get him the memos from Mike Santora.
Yeah, that'd be great, because then,
Yeah.
and the reason I started with Depot Street, and then ironically enough, a few days later, I heard from some Beach Street folks that I think you've probably even talked to then, I imagine, or the board did.
Yeah, I've been talking with them very recently.
Oh, okay.
Also,
Yeah.
not to jump in, but
Oh, that's
the
great.
chief has been out to the bottling plant, so
Okay.
we are trying to see what, if anything, we can
No,
do.
and to be honest with you, the folks on Depot Street didn't seem to be part of this
Right.
former conversation, I'm sorry, on Depot Street. The Beach Street people, all the neighbors spoke very highly of the board and you, Rick, and just, I wasn't sure where to go with that, so I think getting that full packet would be a good idea. And quite honestly, just knowing what was back reported to them, because at least in the conversation, I won't speak for them, but I felt like whatever that final conclusion was, either wasn't delivered to them, or, because it didn't seem like they just didn't like the answer. It seemed like, well, where is it? Are you guys still working on it? And obviously, the past couple of months, it hasn't been a topic of conversation, so.
I have got many memos, many correspondence.
I'm sure.
And if you can't dig it up, let me know. I've got it in my files, and that's gonna show you where we're at.
That'd be great.
Typically, it involves another trip by the chief and/or the town engineer to the bottling plant to rework some of their transportation issues. But, I mean, let's face it, you know, the tractor trailers that get generated there are a problem to every street in Milford.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't wanna tell you how many times my building has been struck by tractor trailers going to and from the bottling plant. So, we'll get you some information on that, and then we can decide on where you wanna go. What's next?
That's it for old business.
Okay, all right, very good. Going on to new business, we have a request from Jen Walsh, Coordinator of Special Programs, to hold the annual road race to benefit the Milford Special Olympics on Saturday, September, it looks like it's 19th?
19th.
Okay, I see the change there. 2015 at 9 a.m. This is something that's been going on for years. It's very successful, and I'm sure that it's been coordinated with the police chief. Am I correct?
Yes, it has.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. We also have correspondence from the Hospitality and Tourism Management Program for Milford High School. Apparently, they're looking to coordinate a 5-kilometer run, October 3rd, 2015. They have a route mapped out, and again, have they coordinated this with the police chief?
Police chief has, in fact, reviewed it and tweaked it a little, and everybody's in favor of it. Yes.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. I have a dog hearing report for the board. Typically, what I do on these things is just list the findings of fact, and then also the recommendation for this board to vote on. Reading the finding of fact are as follows. Antonio and Christine Ferreira reside at 7 Carbon Road, Milford, and are the owners of a husky neutered male dog, age 13, named Cody. Alice Mello Lopes resides at 26 Vine Street, Milford, which property abuts the Ferreira property by the backyards of each. Cody, while outside and on certain occasions, including the nighttime, barks excessively, such that it is an annoyance and disturbance to Ms. Lopes. Pursuant to GL Chapter 140, Section 157, I find that the Ferreira's dog Cody is a nuisance dog. The recommendation for the Board of Selectmen is as follows. Number 1, Cody shall not be allowed outside from the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Number 2, if Cody does need to be outside during the aforementioned time period, then he shall be accompanied by a member of the Ferreira family and on a leash. Should Cody bark during this time, he shall be immediately brought inside. Number 3, should Cody bark excessively for an unreasonable length of time while outside during the daytime hours allowed, then he shall be immediately brought inside. Number 4, if the Ferreiras are found in violation of this order, Cody shall be subject to seizure and impoundment by the Milford Police Department, and further, the Ferreiras would be ordered to immediately surrender to the Milford Town Clerk the license and tags in their possession, and prohibited from licensing a dog within the Commonwealth for 5 years. Number 5, this finding shall be reported to the Milford Town Clerk in accordance with GL Chapter 140, Section 157H. So I'd be looking for a motion to approve the recommendation.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. We can enter that as an order. We have a request from Lynn Lovell, Secretary of the Trustees for Vernon Grove Cemetery, seeking to use $2,000 from the Avis Pond Interest Fund. Your motion?
Motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. We have a memo from the town administrator regarding the position of departmental clerk in the building department. And Rick, I'm going to turn this over to you and ask you to give us a summary of your recommendation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This position was posted internally on May 8th, according to the clerical employees contract as required. The deadline to submit was May 15th. We received 3 applications for the position. Building Commissioner John Erickson and myself interviewed all 3 applicants on May 27th. I did enclose resumes for the board's review. Based on her work experience, her interview, we are recommending Jennifer L. Cinadella for the position. She presently is working in the municipal office clerk, as a municipal office clerk in the town clerk's office. We believe this experience, as well as her attitude, her demeanor, will make her a solid candidate to fill this position. I would therefore respectfully recommend that Ms. Jennifer L. Cinadella be appointed to the departmental clerk position in the building department. If the board would so approve, I would also request that she be placed at grade 3, step 3, with a starting hourly rate of salary at $22.62 per hour. I would also request she begin work on July 1st of 2015. and that is the
Okay.
recommendation.
And Rick, you said that you conducted the interviews along with the building commissioner?
Yes, we both did, yes.
Okay, and this is both of your recommendations?
Yes, it is.
Feel strongly about these recommendations?
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, this is going to be right in the building commissioner's office.
Correct, yes. Should be taking Mary's place.
Questions, comments, or motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Jen.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any more discussion?
Nope.
If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay. Any new business, Will?
Yes. One item.
Okay.
While I was up just taking a look at the area of the brook, I also walked the Prospect Heights Park. I had received 2 phone calls a couple weeks prior about large masses of people going up to the park and playing volleyball on the tennis courts. Okay.
Which park was this? one?
Prospect Heights.
Okay.
Right next to Jean's,
Yep.
those tennis courts. So I went up there and I observed, and there were definitely I don't know how many, huge groups of people. So I did this over a couple of Saturdays. New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, obviously a lot of Massachusetts plates. Everyone seemed to be having fun, having a good time. Then tables were set up and they were selling sandwiches and drinks and things of that nature. And then afterward, the amount of trash left over was pretty bad. And that's what a couple of the neighbors up there were complaining about. So I did have a quick conversation with one of the park commissioners who I ran into later that day. And I know he was gonna, find out just a couple of things, because there was also a porta-john up there, and has been for some time. And I know it was there for some time because last July, when we were having, right before the Portuguese picnic, the mayors had to do some pictures, and it was placed right next to the new granite monument. So that wouldn't have looked good next to all the pictures. So it got moved, and it went away for a little while. Well, now it's back, and it's next to the tennis courts, across from all the first row houses that face the park. So obviously, some of the neighbors aren't real happy about that. So as I was walking around the park, that has a padlock on it, the porta-john. Okay? And one of the neighbors told me that, oh, well, when this group comes on Saturday, they have the key. So I watched, and, young lady comes up, unlocks the door, and they start their thing. So I guess I tell that quick story because, one, there's people come from all over the place. They're selling things. I did talk to 2 Board of Health members separately to ask them if they had that there. They did not. So if possible, Rick, I don't know if you would reach out to the Parks Department and the Board of Health, but also if you decide that maybe, we're talking task force and things like that on a different level, maybe the Parks Department, the Board of Health, and the Board of Selectmen need to get together and have a conversation. Because, again, we're going after and making sure that people are keeping neighborhoods up and things of that nature. And when I walked through that park, and again, took about 20 pictures, we should be leading by example, not exception. And the park itself was pretty bad shape. And what really upset me further was this was shortly after you took part in the Milford beautification and everything like that, and that it was pretty disappointing. So I'm pretty upset about it. So if we can get some, answers, not to put another thing on your plate, but if you can, whatever you think is best. If not, then I would ask that we invite them and we just have a conversation and say, were permits issued? How are we handling this? Who are they? Why, they have keys to a bathroom. Are they paying for the bathroom and we're letting them use it on town property? Or, again, that's under their jurisdiction. I just want to be educated.
Is this a town-owned park? Is this town-owned property?
If it's not, I don't know, then that's something else you can fill me in on. I know
I don't think we have a town-owned park up there.
okay.
Not that I will check.
Can we find out who owns it?
Absolutely, sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I know when, 15 years ago, when we built all the park and built it was all obviously the mayor's plus a lot of private contributors that spent thousands and thousands of dollars putting that together. And then I think whatever the relationship is, the Parks Department takes care of it. And again, this isn't even a criticism to them, because if 300 people are up there, and when people go to Jean's as often as I do, that much people are there, and that's fine, it's a park, but now I'm finding out if it's not a public park, then if we can find out who actually
Let
owns
me
it,
check,
then I
let me
think that
check
would
and
be a
find out
good
either
start.
way. Okay, sure.
I'd appreciate that.
See what information you can put together on that,
Sure.
in terms of the ownership and usage and all of that sort of thing.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, sure.
Under correspondence, we received a letter of resignation from Louis Salazzi from the Middle School East Reuse Committee. Is there a motion to accept?
Motion.
Motion made and seconded to accept with regret his resignation. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Please send Lou a letter of thank you for his service on that committee. And we also have a request from Dave Consigli to be appointed to the Middle School East Reuse Committee. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? That too is unanimous. So welcome, Dave. We received a email, I suppose, of resignation from Tom Andruskevich from the Commission on Disability. Is there a motion made to accept?
Motion.
Motion made and seconded to accept with regret. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. And you could just also indicate a letter to him thanking him for his
Yes.
many years of service. I know he did a great job on that committee for quite a long time. We have a current report from National Grid regarding double pole, which has brought it down to numbers that I have never seen. It's the lowest total of double poles that I can recall. Currently, there are 57 double poles, and they also provided us a list of 53 poles that have been removed since December. So we will get these reports periodically, but it does appear that the utilities are taking this issue seriously and are making some good progress on that.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask, an estimate, how many, when you first started this, how many double poles were there?
Well, it's jumped out. At one point, it was up to over 180.
Wow. I knew there was a lot, but I didn't realize, wow.
It's kind of, fluctuated and that sort of thing, but I know at one point it was up that high. It seemed to settle in around 70 or 80 for the longest time, and then it got kind of ignored and kind of bumped up a little bit. But this is, I would say in the last few months, maybe the last year, I think we've gotten a lot more attention from them,
It's terrific.
so that's good. The stormwater pamphlets, Rick, can you just give us a little information on this?
Yeah,
What is this?
Vonnie, Town Engineer Vonnie Reese asked if we could have this pamphlet sent with the tax bills that will be mailed on July 1st, due August 1st. Under the MS4 permit, there are a number of public outreach requirements, and this would help satisfy the requirement under the permit. So the pamphlet that I provided to the board, again, would be part of the tax mailing on July 1st for the next tax billing.
Okay, great.
So it's a request by the town engineer.
Is there a motion?
Motion made?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Did a nice job putting this together and targeted some areas that almost similar to what you referenced in terms of some of the neglect and just awful conditions around the brook. Hopefully, this will raise citizen awareness so that things don't get to that level. And the police chief has given us a memo regarding Dunkin' Donuts on 31 Main Street. One of the most recent quarterly reports that we got had some level of incidents regarding drug activity, particularly finding syringes at the Dunkin' Donuts on 31 Main Street. When that happens, we generally ask the police chief to have an informational session with the owners. He's done that, and it looks as though they're looking to make some changes in their business activities in terms of being more observant, checking the bathroom areas more frequently, calling the police if paraphernalia does get found, monitoring TV cameras that they do have, the videotapes that they have, and also we will have a police presence go there more frequently. So that's something that we need to continue to watch and monitor. The only other correspondence that we have is the monthly status report from the town engineer, and I think that is everything that I have. Is there anything that you have, Will, that you'd like to raise?
No, but the one thing I did want to, nothing additionally, but the thing I did want to comment on is I'm really impressed by Bonnie's reports. I mean, she just bullets everything, and you actually know everything that's going on. I mean, again, I wish everyone did this. This is, please pass that along for whatever it counts for, because this is really impressive.
I definitely will.
It is good. She does a nice job. Spends a lot of time on a lot of issues. She's been a great addition to the town.
Certainly seems it. Wow.
Okay, that concludes the open session of the meeting. We do have executive session to deal with a pending litigation matter. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Motion?
I will second that motion. We need a roll call vote. Will?
Aye.
I too vote in the affirmative. We will not be returning to open session. Thank you and good night.